So guys, I got this from Learn Color Grading, the channel. I'll put his link down in my notes, but I wanted to take this a step further and show you something that helped me streamline my process. I have, let's say, a clip that I want to bring into my timeline, and you can see that I'm going to need to do some color grading because that clip is very yellow, and that's even after using the white balance on my camera. So I could try to achieve a little better white balance inside my camera, which I do, but sometimes it just doesn't end up perfect. So what I did was I set my camera to the best of my abilities, and then what I did was I made a lookup table. LUT is a saved color profile, more or less. It's called a lookup table, and it's a little bit more scientific than the way I'm describing it, but for me it's just kind of like making a saved color profile that I can import quickly and easily later. So normally what you would do on a clip like this is you'd come in and you might go for white balance first. And if you don't have anything white in the screen, sometimes you can white balance right off of the whites of somebody's eyes. So sometimes I'll zoom way in and I'm just using the wheel on my mouse and scrolling in, and I'll grab like a white spot and I'll hit that, and you'll see that it color balanced it pretty nicely. But what I did was I went ahead and I did white balance beforehand. So let's say though you come in here and you get this thing just how you want it. So let's say we come in here and we white balance first, and then we go in here and mess around with highlights and saturation and different things like this. So let's say I might go a little more contrast on this. I might take the mids up a little, you know, brighten the image. Let's say I do a little pop in saturation, and I might say, okay, I like that. So that color grading, and you can kind of sample between before, after, and you can do other things to it. So those color grades I could actually save for the future. And the way you would do that is you'd come over here on your icon for that particular clip, and you would right click on it, and you'd come over here and say generate 3D LUT. And it says where do you want to put it. And I could make this one test LUT for video, right? And I'm going to save it in the Panasonic folder here. You see up here, Panasonic? Support LUTs Panasonic. And I hit save. Okay, now you see it show up immediately. It says test LUT right here. So what we can do, let me show you an example of why this is good. So let's go back to our original thing. Let's delete that clip. Let's pretend we brought that clip in for the first time. What's nice is you can go over here to the color grading page and you can say, I'm going to take this test LUT and drop it on there. That immediately brings that clip into a more white balanced situation. So once I'm perfectly white balanced, or I'm colored the way I want to be, you can add a little bit more contrast and pop. And this is something I wanted to show you guys that I saw on Learn Color Grading. Was he showed me the lab color space. And rather than get into the details of what lab is, because I really don't know, let's do another node, Alt S. And you want to name these. So here you might say node label, you might say test LUT applied. Change the node label to LAB, so I know what I did here. So then when you right click on the LAB node and you go down here to color space and go to LAB, you click that. That color space throws your contrast or your shadows and your highlights into a kind of a unique relationship. As you increase the shadow darkness, you increase blue. See how the image turns bluer in the shadows? I'm rolling. If you look down to shadows, you see my number increases. The more negative in shadow you go, the more blue you apply, right? So let's fix that. And then as far as the highlights go, the higher to the right on the highlights you go, the more red it applies. So it gives you that real good contrasty color pop. So right now we're just looking at a white balanced image, but if you wanted to add a little bit of color contrast, you could come down here and start working your shadows down and work your highlights up and kind of go back and forth, adding and taking away until you get to a look you like, and it gives you a little bit more of like an edgy cinematic look. And I thought this was a really quick, fast way to get a good grade. Basically apply a white balance, then do the LAB grade, and I've got a pretty good looking image right off the bat. So if you were to look at this up close, I mean, the yellow is yellow, everything is color matched, everything looks good. So let's jump out of here, and if you want to see before and after, that's what it was like before when I thought I had it white balanced. Now this is it with the LAB color space and the shadows and highlights adjusted, added back in. And you can see there's like a general red hue over this image until I do that LAB color space, and it kind of intensifies the blacks and retains the color of the skin tones, which I really like. So it has that real edgy, almost cinematic look. So just a quick tip, quick color grade. If you don't want to get into, pushing all the dials and gauges and doing all the work, I mean, you can just do a simple white balance, then do a LAB color space and push and pull on the shadows and highlights and try to get a pretty clean, good looking image right off the bat. Just a quick tip, but credit to the LAB, back to Learn Color Grading. I appreciate him showing me that. That's huge and awesome. And then also don't forget about setting up your own color lookup tables, your LUTs, so you can color your clips quicker and easier in the future, and they're saved for you when you need them next time. All right, thanks guys, I appreciate it.